Shabbat Shalom to everybody. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. To all the 12 tribes of Israel scattered abroad and believers in Yeshua Messiah. Good evening to everybody. Welcome to Hidden Manna. Hello, I'm Pastor Dave Sain, Senior Shepherd here at Living Manna. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. I hope that you have had a good preparation day. Of course, for us, it's Saturday night, or the beginning of Saturday on Abba's calendar, or on the calendar as we understand it. Going into Saturday, into our day of rest, and I hope that you have had a good preparation day. And we haven't had it for, it just seems like so much stuff has been coming up the last couple of weeks, but we've been missing Hidden Manna for a while, and I'm looking so forward to talking to you guys today. But again, welcome. Good evening, everybody. You're part of Hidden Manna, part of Living Manna Fellowship. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Tonight's a conversation. We're going to talk with Brother Max, and let me just put him up here so you guys can see him. Hey, ma'am. Shalom, ma'am.
Shabbat shalom.
How you
Good
doing?
to you, huh?
It's been a while, man. It feels like it's been forever.
I know. Well, no, we had that little hiatus.
Yeah, we had a hiatus for a while, and then just technical difficulties, and I pulled my back out, and then I caught a cold the other day, and I'm thinking, oh man, no, I can't be sick for Hidden Manna, man. They're not gonna believe it. Nobody's gonna believe it. But I'm feeling like 85% better. So
good.
But
what happens when you get old, right?
Yes, it was my birthday the other day, and thank you everybody for all the birthday wishes and all the text and thank you so much. It was we felt loved. I felt loved, and we had a good time.
Awesome.
But yeah, man, it's been a while since we've talked. It's been a while since we've been together.
I know. It really has. It's some nice weather over here, so it feels like to me it's almost like summertime. And I feel like I didn't know what to do the past 2 weeks.
Early spring for sure. Early
we were
spring
outside.
for sure.
I was getting spoiled, going back outside Friday night and just hanging out till the sun went down.
Listen, I'm telling you, there's another snowstorm in there somewhere.
Oh, you kidding me?
There just is. I feel it in my bones, and maybe because I'm
Especially
old.
up here.
I feel it. Yeah, you guys definitely, but we've gotten away pretty good down here in the Northeast and
Past
in
couple
the city.
years for you.
Yeah, we've had some pretty. I don't know what the problem is with global warming. Personally, I like it. I know I'm just being facetious. I'm not trying to. I'm just being funny. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Now, speaking of which, I was just talking to you before. It was supposed to be 71 on Monday. I'm
wow.
like, what? It's
crazy. That's like July weather for you guys.
My goodness. Then it's going to happen, like you said.
It's going to go down
May
to 20.
1st, we're going to have a snowstorm.
Yeah. Now, it's been a while since you've been together. Actually, the conversation we're going to have tonight, we talked about this, or we talked about talking about this weeks and weeks ago. We wanted to talk about Passover, and of course the title for tonight is a circumcised heart, and yes, it attaches to the whole story of Passover. It's connected to it, so we're definitely going to talk over some things about the Passover, and I think this is going to be a good conversation for everybody that is already on the journey towards obedience to Abba, that is already trying to pursue the feast days. And just obedience to Abba's instruction, and yet I think tonight we may ruffle some feathers. We're gonna suggest some things, and we ask you, of course, just consider it, pray for it, pray about it.
That scripture Paul says, "Have I offended you now?"
Yeah.
Right?
And
sometimes,
and like we always say, and I am just learning this more and more and more. You just don't know what you don't know. And the more I learn, the more I understand, the more I realize I didn't know.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. And I think that's maybe one of the reasons why in what we call the Sermon on the Mount, the Matthew 5, 6, 7, where the master says that the kingdom of God belongs to the humble. Right? To the individual that is willing to to humble themselves and realize, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm going to do the best I can with what I do know, but I have to keep an open mind for what I don't know. And then when I do know, you sort of gotta adjust yourself. And really, I guess that's kind of been that's really been our whole walk. I mean, if you think about it, right?
Yeah. I think our modern term, right? People will say that's being fluid, right? You'll always be able to say, okay, accept it. Of course, in today's agenda, we know what that is. People can go in and out of certain, identities.
There's that aspect of it, but I'm talking about, all of it's religion, even that, even the agenda, that's religion. Politics is religion. Tonight, right? Yeah, everything's religion. There is nothing on this planet that's not religion.
Yep. Politics
but while everything may be religion, and it absolutely is, at least in my understanding, it is. We've all of us are going through a journey, right? We've all and I think if we think back to whatever denomination, whatever fellowship, whatever name it is that we've all come from, and everybody has a different path that sort of got us here. But one thing I think that I've noticed among all of the religious groups in our world today is that they have a defined parameter that this is the belief from here to here. And if you waver from that, if you change from that in any way, you're a heretic. And then you get excommunicated, kicked out, removed. So there's this idea that our understanding in the religious world is absolute. This is absolutely what we believe. There is nothing else. This is it. Point blank. Believe this or else.
And no one wants to think they were wrong, right?
Yeah, and who does? I mean, who wants to be told that they're wrong? But I think the reality of the situation is that we're all wrong, right? I think we've all been wrong.
Yep, I agree.
I think we've made mistakes, and it's not just. I don't want to put blame on anybody, because it really isn't. It really isn't about it. It's not about blame. It's not about pointing fingers to say that, oh, you were wrong and you were wrong and you were wrong. We've all been deceived.
Good point.
Sometimes I think we forget, because I think we tend, even though we know there's an enemy, we tend to think of the enemy in the abstract. That he's Satan, and he's a dragon, and he walks about like a roaring lion, and there could be possessions and all that kind of stuff, and we think about him in the abstract rather than realizing he is an incredibly smart, intelligent, deceptive. What does the scripture say? He comes as an angel of light.
Yeah.
He presents himself as that which looks like it belongs to Abba. And we all fell for it.
Yeah.
Everybody, every religion, to one degree or another, fell for it. Whatever the religion is, doesn't really matter.
That's why I always laugh at Hollywood's perception of Satan. When you see these evil movies, right?
Oh yeah, the monsters.
Right? Yeah, that's not what he looks like.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely
not. Man's wicked heart.
But I do think, and it's not that there isn't parameters, right? It's not that there's not supposed to be, okay, this is the truth, and we need to understand the truth. I absolutely believe that. It's just I think we've been lied to, because that's really what this comes down to. I think we've been lied to for so long that you and I, all of us, everybody's listening, everybody that's here today, we are sort of the beneficiaries of almost, and it's not just 2,000 years, because he's been lying a lot longer than just 2,000 years, but from the time of Messiah. We are, maybe beneficiaries, not the right word. We are the victims. We are the victims of lie after lie after lie after lie that looks like a lamb, right? Revelation 13 looks like a lamb, but speaks like a dragon. We are the victims of deception. And so you and I I think all of us are in a very, very different position today with regards to the gospel than the people of the first century, than the Jews of the first century that saw Messiah, than the apostles of the first century that lived with Messiah and walked with Messiah, and then took this word out and began to tell others. We're in a very, very different position. They had the truth. They had it in their hands. They understood it, and it was based. It wasn't a new truth. It was a truth based on everything that came beforehand. It's what does Ephesians tell us? It's built on the prophets and the apostles. It's built on Moses. It's built on Elijah. It's built on Daniel. That was the foundation of everything, with Messiah being the chief cornerstone. And so what they understood, they had that background. You and I, 2,000 years later, we're coming at this story without the background. And so we're playing catch up. Not only are we starting to understand, but there's a ministry. I can't remember what the guy's name is. He has a ministry out there, Learning the Truth. Is that, maybe that's not the right way of saying it? Unlearning the Lies.
Yeah.
Is that
Lex Meyer?
Yeah, Lex Meyer, right? Yeah, Lex Meyer. His whole ministry is unlearning the lies, and that really is sort of the process we're going through of unlearning the lies. And so, not only do we have to unlearn stuff, then we gotta learn what the truth is, and it just doesn't come. It doesn't come overnight. It doesn't work that way. And that's one of the things I do see sometimes with, I get a little frustrated sometimes when I'm listening to, some people online. And of course, listen, people online are people online. But I get frustrated sometimes when, they just sort of cut off and dismiss people because they don't speak the way others speak. They don't do what others do. And rather than taking the time to teach them, to speak to where they are and speak them up and teach them up, and help them to learn and understand. We just cut them off. Yeah. And I, me personally, it's just my own personal pet peeve. I think that's wrong, because we all celebrated Christmas, right?
Yeah.
All of us did, because we're talking about Passover, right? And even today, do I, in my heart of hearts, because, today's discussion is going to be about Passover. It's going to be about circumcised heart. In my heart of hearts, do I think we're doing Passover correctly? No. Like everything else we've done. Mm-hmm. I think it's a learning curve. Yeah. Do I think we're getting closer? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. I think we're getting closer. Mm-hmm. But are we doing it correctly? Based on the history of how we got here, I would say no. Are our Jewish brethren doing it correctly? No, absolutely not. And for years, for years, when we first started coming to truth, you remember, you've come to our Passovers 10 years ago. Then we used to do the Seder.
Yep. Yeah,
we put the whole Seder plate out, and you have all the things on the Seder, and you go through all the different names and the motzi matzah and all the rest of that. And today we really don't we don't do that. We don't do the Seder. But you think about it, where does the Seder come from? It comes from a group of people that don't believe in Messiah.
Yeah, exactly. Good point.
They do not. It's not that they don't believe in Messiah. Mm-hmm. They despise Messiah. Mm. They despised him. They rejected him as a whole, as the leadership. Obviously, there were people that did, and so they created a a ceremony since there was no temple anymore, and all of those traditions, as Messiah said, not one stone upon another. So they created something else to carry along their understanding that has been passed down through the ages. And the Seder's changed time and time and time and time again, all the different things that are inside of it. And now I look at it today, and looking back on it, I'm thinking, why would I, is it right for me to follow that pattern, to mimic what people are doing that despise, absolutely despise the name of Yah salvation, the name of Yeshua, or the name of Yahusha. I mean, just it's not even a matter of, just ignore it, despise it. And I'm not saying that we're not supposed to do the Passover. I think we are. I mean, these are memorials Abba's given to his people, and he tells us these are memorials forever. These are remembrances forever. And just because there's not a temple, while we cannot do it the way it was done in the temple, that doesn't mean that we reject the memorials.
Yeah, well, he says that those are his feast days, right? Not Jewish. They're his.
They're his, and more importantly, they tell us the story. They are the story. And so you've got, a whole section of the religious world, modern Christendom, in every name and every facet, from Roman Catholicism to Episcopalianism to evangelicalism, and you just go down the gamut, that absolutely rejects and refuses to acknowledge the Passover, that Messiah is the Passover. And what did the beast do, or what did the angel of light do? He substituted it with Easter.
Yep, the Easter ham instead of the Passover lamb.
So and obviously we all did that for a long time. So have we made mistakes before? Yeah, some really, really big mistakes. And I don't want people to misunderstand. I'm not saying that that even as we were doing those things, that we didn't have a heart for Father. Because if we didn't have a heart for Father, we would have never come out of those things, right? And that's exactly what Revelation, 18, when as Abba is speaking to his people, he's telling us to come out of Babylon. Yeah. So obviously we've all been in Babylon. We've all done those things, including Israel. And including the Jews. They're affected by Babylon as well. So I think the dilemma that we've got to sort of wade through here at the end of the sixth day, 2,000 years after Messiah, is what are we supposed to be doing at Passover? More than that, when is Passover? And and what things are we actually supposed to be doing, and how are we supposed to be doing it? And I'm not saying I got it all figured out. I don't. And I think year after year after year, we're going to get better. And at some point, I don't know when, but I'm hoping at some point we're going to be able to say, yeah, this is it. This is it. This fits. This is, sort of the square peg in the square hole. And this acknowledges who he is. We have an understanding that Messiah is the Passover lamb, and yet we acknowledge and we understand all the things that came before and what all their prophetic meanings are. And I think that's what Saul's talking about in, is it Galatians or Colossians? I think it's Colossians, where he tells them, don't let anybody
judge you on a feast day.
Yeah, judge you on a feast day. Because how does the church think about that? Yeah. The church reads that and they say, well, that means don't keep the feast days.
Don't do them.
That's not what that means.
I know.
That's not what. If the feast days are memorials forever, that's not what that means. Or Abba's word is no longer Abba's word. It's just
saying, literally, don't let people judge you on doing them.
and I, again, this is just my understanding as here we are today. I really think what he's saying is, don't let the Jews of this day
Well, think about it,
Tell
right?
you how to celebrate Passover.
We know, just from learning Scripture, Galatians, right? You always had the circumcision party following Paul
Yeah.
wherever he was going, right?
Yep. Telling people, if you want to come to Messiah, this is how you have to do it. And of course, that's all Acts chapter 15. They had to deal with the question, and they dealt with it. And they said, no, that's wrong. That's just not that's not the understanding. That's not what Abba meant. And so while we're coming up to Passover season, and we're going to do our best. Obviously, we're doing different things this year, and we're going to get better and better every year. But I think we still have a lot of learning to do.
Oh yeah,
a lot of changes that still have to be made, but we're getting better. And here's the awesome thing. Abba knows this. How does Father not know? That if Father didn't know, then he wouldn't have said in Revelation 13, "Come out of Babylon."
Yeah.
Right. So does Abba know that the enemy, the deceiver, has clouded the waters so much that it's hard? That it's not impossible, but it's hard. It really is hard to understand what the truth is. I think so we're going to talk about some stuff with regards to that. Again, that might rub somebody or some a little harshly, and we're not doing this to rub anybody the wrong way, but we're trying to understand.
Yeah. Can you imagine what books are in the bottom of the Vatican that this stuff was all penned down right from the beginning, that was tracked for every feast day, the exact date, the exact times, everything, right? They know it.
You know what? I'm not even. You know what? I'm not even sure that because honestly, I think everything we need to truly understand is already in the Torah.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's there, but I think we've been so I'm going to use the word affected, but I think what I really mean is infected by Rome, by Vatican and everything else that's come after that. That because think about modern Christendom. What is the principle of modern Christendom? The law is done away with. So if the law is done away with, then there's really no reason to go to the Torah and to truly try to understand it, because you don't have to do it. If you don't have to do it, if you don't have to do something, why are you going to really study it and understand it and try to apply it? And so I think Rome is as deceived, if not more so deceived, than the rest of us. And they've substituted, because think about it. What has been substituted for Passover? Easter. A celebration that was going on in the days of Babel. This is the whole Tammuz, Semiramis, Nimrod. That's that story. This is Ezekiel chapter 8. So and what did it affect? It affected Abba's people. It's like the enemy has always been trying to switch up, change, give us things that seem close, but close is not exact. So who knows? I'm sure there's things in the Vatican that books and things that would be awesome to see and to read. But I think honestly, no matter where we are in this planet, Abba's Torah, that's the books of Moses. Even if you don't have the prophets, even if you don't, the foundation's already there in the Torah. And then what does Messiah say? He is the Torah. Yep. Everything Moses said, he spoke about me. So you know Messiah, you have to know Moses. You know Moses, you'll understand Messiah. You reject Moses, there's no way to understand Messiah. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. So everybody, so we're talking about Passover and the celebration that's coming up. And again, we've all made mistakes. I've made some terrible mistakes. We all have. We've all of our eyes have been blinded. But as we're coming out of the darkness, we understand more. And I remember talking about this with some other people years ago, and asking, when it comes to Passover, because and here's the hard part, because there's an argument to be made on both sides. Because one of the things that I think many of us can use as a testimony to say, I began to come to truth. I began to understand because I went to a Passover, which is true for me too. I went to years ago. I went to a Jewish Passover rabbi, and I sat there and they did the whole Seder and watched it. And as they're doing the Seder, I'm seeing Messiah in certain things, and I began to understand little by little. But should the Passover be used as an evangelical tool? That is, as an outreach to people. That's a tough one. Mm-hmm. Because there definitely, I think, is an argument to be made. It may not prove ultimately the correct argument, but I think there's an argument to be made that, some people have come to a Seder and listened to whoever was doing a Seder, preacher or whatever, and began to understand some things, and they began their walk. And that's awesome. Mm-hmm. I do not deny that. And by any stretch of the imagination, I absolutely do not deny that. I mean, what's your experience? When's the first time you went to a Seder?
Well, I guess that was at your church. About, I don't know. Just did it to do it, right? Didn't even know what we were doing. Just wanted to go see you guys in the city. And we came out. I think that's the one when you guys first wore all in white. Remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember those days. That's right. Yeah, we were doing what the Jews do. Mm-hmm. So your experience is all right. Yeah, we went to a Seder, and that sort of started the journey. The question I have with that I want us to sort of work through tonight, or at least discuss tonight. Obviously, we're not going to work this all out. Well, actually, here's the first question. Was that actually the Passover we were doing? Mm. That's the first question to ask, right? Mm-hmm. Were we actually doing the Passover? Mm. All right, set that aside for a second. Let's assume for a second that we were, which I think is probably an incorrect assumption.
Long stretch?
A big stretch. But let's assume for a second it was something. It was some sort, and so what did we do? We invited people, different people of from the church world, from friends and family, and I get that. I get that desire that you want to bring family and friends and people you love. You want them to begin to understand what you understand. So what do? Well, the Passover's a great opportunity to bring them together. Except as we start walking in truth, one of the things we begin to learn, and not that this saves us, this does not make us right with Abba, but once we are forgiven, and I think even that is sort of a misnomer. We keep saying the word saved. Well, really we should say forgiven. You're forgiven, right? You're made righteous. You're clothed again. I think you were talking about what was it? The book you were reading.
Yeah, Eve's
Eve. Yeah, with Eve. I got to talk about that.
Yeah, it's in the Apocrypha. She was speaking to her son Seth, just going over what had happened to her and Adam, how she made an oath that they would both eat the fruit, which is a fig, by the way, again.
Really? You found that out?
Yeah, well, I confirmed it. I had that hypothesis about a year ago.
You did. I remember you brought that up.
Remember, and in this book, she says, when she's telling Seth that.
And what book is this?
It's not the book of Adam and Eve. It's
Yeah, because I read a little bit of the book of Adam and Eve, and I was like, I'm not sure.
It's not the one that
I'm not
talks about
sure.
them living in a cave. There's
Right.
a different book. Yeah.
Yeah, I
This one
didn't.
just is given like a testimony of what happened in the garden. And it makes sense because she says that when she ate the fruit, she took the fig leaf and made a garment of the fruit that she had eaten. So she says to him, it was the fig. But regardless, the first thing that she said to Seth was that she was stripped of her righteousness, not just her clothes, not realizing she was naked. Because, at that point, her and Adam knew that they were naked and they were together. They were, partners. So that was the important key. She was stripped naked of her righteousness before Yah, her right standing. So I thought that was pretty wild when you read that. But I'll get the name of the book. We can put it in the comments. I'll do that tonight.
So if that in fact is this, that would make more sense to me, right? So what do? We got to test. We got to prove. Are those books in line with the rest of the story? So what do we read by the time we get to to Saul, to Peter, to the books of the New Testament? How many times does it tell us that we are clothed in righteousness? Yeah. So if they had access to these books, these apocryphal books, which obviously they did, then it would make sense then that as Saul is talking about being clothed in Messiah, that Abba has given us righteousness, then that would be then what we call saved, forgiven, is a restoration or the beginning of the restoration process of what Adam and Eve lost. Yeah. And it's kind of neat that it's not the apple, right?
Yeah, right.
It's
everyone. The whole Macintosh, Apple. Macintosh. I just dated myself with that one, huh? But the whole Apple idea, because people get that whole thing. Well, look, it was knowledge, right? So that's why they put the apple on their signal, on their symbol.
But it would make more sense that it was a fig, right? Because what did they sow on themselves?
Yep.
Fig leaves, right? They sowed fig leaves. What is the picture of the house of Israel that gets cursed?
Cursed, the fig tree that didn't produce fruit.
Right, a fig tree that didn't produce fruit. And so you get insight, and that's how you begin to test the books. Would this be consistent with what's said in the rest of the Torah, and obviously what's said in what we call the New Testament, or the writings of the writings of the emissaries, the apostles, and that would be consistent with what Saul said. We are clothed in righteousness. Abba has given us righteousness. He has bestowed upon us righteousness. And so that's what everybody calls saved. But once our clothing has been given back to us, now it's time to be obedient. And so being obedient doesn't necessarily, is not the way you get clothed, but being obedient is the product of being clothed. Does that make sense?
Well, the scary part is the flip side is disobedience is what disrobed our righteousness.
Well, there you go. So if let's say we are saved, right? Let's just use sort of the modern religious term. If we are saved, but we still disobey the instruction, are we still clothed in righteousness? And obviously, we've all disobeyed to one degree or another, because again, I think it's a process.
Yeah,
I think it's a learning curve for us. But I think there must be a learning curve, right? There's got to be. And what is? I think it's. We'll look at some scriptures in a second. But I think it's Deuteronomy 30 that talks, and also the book of Romans, that talks about a circumcised heart. And we battle over this all the time. You got all sorts of different things out there. The bottom line is a circumcised heart means a heart that has been forgiven, restored to a righteous clothing, and now has the desire to obey. To obey what?
Exactly.
His instructions.
Deuteronomy also says that if we
How to
obey
walk in
his
righteousness.
instructions, that is righteousness for us.
That is what righteousness is. So you can't have a different definition for righteousness in the New Testament as opposed to the righteousness or what the definition has always been prior to. What happened here? I think I'm just looking at the screen here. I just saw something that I'm hoping for no glitches or anything like that.
I know, right?
All right, so here's the thing. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12. I'm gonna pop it up on the screen here so you guys can see.
You want me to read that so you can save your voice a little bit there? Or?
Yeah. Go for it.
We're gonna start at verse 43.
Let me get there first. Romans, not Romans. I'm looking at Romans. It's Exodus.
12, starting at verse 43. I think to the rest of the chapter, right? 51. Let me know when you want me to go.
Yeah, of course. I'm having trouble with this.
Now it won't print up, right?
It never fails, man. Never fails. Let me jump out of it, go back into it. Exodus, and I don't know why it's not coming up. Of course, technical difficulties. Let me see if Leviticus will come up. I can't get anything up. Well, go ahead. You can go ahead and read it. We're gonna go into Exodus chapter 12, verses 43 through 51. And while he's reading it, I'm gonna see if I can actually pull it up.
Okay. And Yah said to Moshe and Aaron, "This is the law of the Pesach, the Passover. No son of a stranger is to eat of it. But any servant a man has brought for silver, when you have circumcised him, then let him eat of it. A sojourner and a hired servant does not eat of it. It is eaten in one house. You are not to take any of the flesh outside of the house, nor are you to break any bone of it. All of the congregation of Israel are to perform it. And when a stranger who sojourns with you and shall perform the Pesach to Yah, let all his males be circumcised. And then let him come near and perform it, and he shall be as a native of the land. But let no uncircumcised eat of it. There is one Torah for the native born and for the stranger who sojourns among you. And all the children of Israel did as Yah commanded Moshe and Aaron. So they did. And it came to be that on the same day that Yah brought the children of Israel out of the land of Mitzrayim, according to their divisions.
All right. So I finally got it up there, so hopefully everybody can see it. This is Exodus chapter 12, verses 43 through 51. And some of the key verses in here, I'm going to scroll back here just for a second. Verse 43.
48 is a key verse.
This is, here it is. This is the law of the Pesach. No son of a stranger is to eat of it. But any servant a man has bought for silver, when you have circumcised him, then let him eat of it. So,
and what were we bought with? A price?
We're bought with the price of silver, aren't we?
Yep.
Right. We're bought with 30 pieces of silver, which means we are no longer sojourners. We're citizens, which is obviously what Ephesians talks about later.
Yeah, we can bring that up when we're done with this.
So, if we look at this just in the context of how Moses says it to, or how Moses says it to the house of Israel, he's telling them people that aren't part of this, who have not. Now he's talking about a physical circumcision. Now, when he's talking about a physical circumcision, if you got yourself circumcised, during this time, it's because you saw, 10 plagues, right, out of Egypt. You were a sojourner, you were a foreigner, you were an Egyptian, you were an Assyrian, whatever. whatever other cult, you were Greek, you were whatever other nations and cultures there were that were also slaves and people in Egypt who did not have a heritage that connected them to Abraham. That you saw all of this stuff, and you realized, yeah, this is Elohim. Right? This is God. It's not the Egyptian gods. This is God. So we can use the word converted if you. I'm not even sure if that's the right word, but
coveted. Yeah.
They were converted. They believed, but the expression of their belief was circumcision. Now here's the thing. Why would you get circumcised if you are a sojourner or a foreigner? It's because
especially
you are
knowing the process.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but why would you do it? You would do it because you have made up in your mind that I want to follow this God. I want to obey. I want to do the things that the God of Israel is instructing us to do. And if that has happened, if you have made up your mind that you want to obey, and you go through the physical process of circumcision, then you are allowed at the Passover table.
Yep.
But here's the thing. If you didn't, if you haven't made up in your mind, not just a belief in God, but it's a belief to obey. It just told us, no stranger can eat of it.
Yep.
And so the question that pops into my mind, and I guess there's no real answer here in Exodus, because I mean, why would you even attempt that? Why would you even attempt to try to eat the Passover if you really didn't believe in the God who just did all of those 10 plagues and opened up the sea and and all that other crazy stuff and speaks from the mountain and yada yada yada, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Why would you want to sit at that table if you truly and sincerely are not willing to follow the instructions of that God, that Elohim? So obedience, while it's faith that got them into a right standing with Abba, it is obedience that allowed them to eat of the Passover. And boy, that sets a big precedent, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And the question in my mind is, what happens if you ate of it and you didn't believe?
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean that had to happen. How many people in the house of Israel that we find that that drop dead all over the wilderness? And it's not that they even kept the Passover during the wilderness, because they didn't. They did not until they get to Joshua. But what would have happened if you faked it? Or I think to maybe put it into today's standard, were you supposed to use the experience of the Passover to invite people who didn't believe?
Just for a dinner and fellowship.
For a dinner and fellowship, so that they could believe? Or is the Passover supposed to be family only?
For the house of Israel, it says, right?
Wow. That's something to think about, right? That's something to think about. Because and listen, again, I know. I know the argument. I know all the discussions. I know what our experience have been. And you can say personal testimonies, but are we basing our understanding on personal experience and testimonies, or are we basing it on instruction? And at some point, we've got to base it on instruction.
Yeah. And if you wanted to go that route, none of the other feast days have the same requirement.
Yeah, so if you want to evangelize, bring them the tabernacles. You want to evangelize, let them come during Shavuot, or any of the other, memorials that there are. There's no prohibition to those. But to the Passover, there's a prohibition. And I think we've sort of forgotten this. And again, we're learning, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. Still dealing with this little cold here. So there is so the question then is, does that prohibition still extend today? Well, Abba's Torah, Abba's instruction doesn't fade away. So how does that apply today? And I think we've got really, really good precedent to examine this question. Let me see if the computer will let me pull it up. I think it's
Ephesians first.
Okay, yeah. Let's do Ephesians first. That's to at least make the connection here.
Yeah, especially to verse 48. Let's remember that key word, stranger.
Yeah, strangers and foreigners. Ephesians 2.
Yeah, chapter 2, verses 12 and 13.
All right, and this should be familiar to all of you guys. But now in the light of Passover, now listen to these words.
Sorry, verse 11, actually.
Yeah, I got verse 11 up there. You want to go ahead and read that?
Yeah. Therefore remember that you once nations in the flesh, who are called the uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision made by in the flesh, by what is called the circumcision made in the flesh by hands.
All right, stop right here a second. So think about what he's saying here. He's talking about Gentiles who don't believe, who by the Jews, who we're talking about physical circumcision now, which is what we just finished reading in Exodus 12, the Jews referred to the nations, strangers and foreigners, as the uncircumcision. And they were. They didn't practice circumcision. So, but he talks about it as a circumcision made with hands. So I think what we're going to see is there is the physical commandment, and it's true and it's real. And then there is the spiritual reality. That there's a letter of the law, and then there's the spirit of the law. But go ahead, verse 12.
Verse 12. That at that time you were without Messiah, excluded from the citizenship of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no expectation and without Elohim in the world.
Let's paraphrase that for a second. You couldn't come to Passover.
Yep, at that time we were excluded.
We couldn't come to Passover.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it unless we believed in all sincerity, we're converted, and in our belief and understanding of him decided to obey, and with the hands of flesh, we're circumcised. So this has a direct correlation to what we just read in Exodus 12.
Yep.
Go ahead, brother.
13, of course, sums it up. But now in Messiah, Yahusha, you who once were far off have been brought near by the blood of Messiah.
And verse 14, too.
Oh, hold on. I hate that when you scrolled and it went down.
Sorry.
Okay. Blood of Messiah. For he is our peace, who has made both one, and having broken down the partition of the barrier.
All right. Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, the Torah of the commandments in dogma, man's understanding of it. He's not talking about the Torah. So as to create in himself one renewed man from the two, thus making peace. So he's telling us Abba's intention always, just like it was in the days of the Exodus, was to bring strangers and foreigners together with the native born, all who believed, all who were circumcised, to be able to eat the Passover. And of course, I'm going to skip on down to verse 18 And if you want to read verse 18 to 20, if you have it there.
Yeah, hold on. Just keeps on skipping all the way down. 18. All right. Because through him we both have access to the Father by one Spirit. So then, you are no longer strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens of the set-apart ones and the members of the household of Elohim, which is the house of Israel, having been built up upon the foundation of the emissaries and the prophets, Yahushua Messiah himself being chief cornerstone, just what you said before. In him, all the building being joined together grows into a set-apart dwelling place in Yah. And then in him, you also are being built together into a dwelling of Elohim in the Spirit.
All right. So verse 19 obviously is the major takeaway here. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Hold on a second. Verse 19. I don't know. I keep doing that. I can't even highlight it. I don't know what's happening. There we go. Verse 19, where the cursor is right there, guys. Verse 19 is the major takeaway here. So now, in Messiah, we are no longer strangers and foreigners. Yep. Just like in the story of the Exodus. So why were strangers and foreigners allowed to eat the Passover? Because they were circumcised in the flesh. And what does circumcision in the flesh again mean? You were willing to not just believe, but obey.
Action. Put it into action.
Yeah, put into action your faith, to trust. And part of it was to celebrate the Pesach and, of course, everything else that comes along with that.
I mean, it just makes sense, because if you're not covered, if your heart wasn't circumcised, at that point you'd be like, I got to do what? I ain't doing that to eat,
Well, here's the thing. How, because we got the letter of the law, Exodus 12. Now we're reading the spirit of the law, Ephesians 2. So how are we made, or how do we go from strangers and foreigners to being now fellow citizens that make us able to sit at the Passover table? And believe it or not, Moses tells us how, which is, it shouldn't be weird to us, because basically everything's in the Torah. Here's Moses, chapter 30, and here's let's start at verse 1. So when you read chapter 29 and chapter 30, Moses basically tells them, listen, there's going to come a day you guys aren't going to obey anymore. You're just not going to obey. You're not going to obey. Strangers aren't going to obey. No, you're just going to stop obeying. You're going to stop doing the commandments. You're going to lose it. You're going to stop doing the Sabbaths. You're going to lose it all. And obviously, boom, here we are. Right? It's not just now. It's been going on for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But verse 1 says, and it shall be when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse which I have set before you, that you shall bring them back to your heart among the nations. So he's going to wind up scattering his people everywhere among the nations, which, i.e., where are we? Everywhere among the nations, where your Elohim drives you, and shall turn back to Yah. Once we're in the nations, separated from him, we're going to turn back to Elohim. And here it is, guys. I can't highlight it. I don't know why I can't highlight it. Hopefully you guys can see it. Let me try it one more time. Nope. I don't know wait. Yeah, okay, highlight. Let me see if I can use that one.
Yeah. Almost had it.
Almost had it. I don't know what I'm doing here. Okay, there we go. I don't know what happened. And you shall turn back to Elohim and obey. And obey. Obey his voice according to all that I command you today, which is the instructions, with all your heart, with all your being, with all your children, Shema. And let me get rid of this up here. Then Yah, your Elohim, shall turn back your captivity and shall have compassion on you. And he shall turn back and gather you from all the peoples where your Elohim has scattered you. I think he's talking about resurrection. I think he's talking about resurrection here. Not just going back to the land, the way our Jewish brethren think. I think he's talking about resurrection here. Because this is what Messiah says. We're going to be taken up from everywhere. Mm-hmm. Verse 4. If any of you are driven out to the farthest parts under heaven, from there Yah your Elohim does gather you, and from there he does take you. And Yah your Elohim shall bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. And he shall do good to you and increase you more than your fathers. And increase you more than your fathers. Verse 6. And Yah...
5 does confirm your what you said, the resurrection. You know?
Yeah, I think so. I think Moses is prophetically speaking. Mm-hmm. But of course, if you don't realize that to the Jewish mindset, you're thinking everybody, going back to the land today, like 1948.
Yeah.
And that's I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. I think there are supposed to be Jews in the land when Messiah comes. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's what Moses is talking about.
Yeah, especially prosper you and multiply you more than your fathers.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
So here, and verse 6 is the key. And Yah your Elohim shall circumcise your heart, mm-hmm. and the heart of your seed, to love Elohim, to love Yah your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, so that you might live. Again, when we say to love Elohim with all your heart, your mind, your soul, and strength, what does that mean? Yeah. Obey his instructions. That's the only way. If you say you love, what is it, 1 John? If you say you love Elohim,
me, don't follow his commandments,
but you don't follow his commandments, you're a liar. So
1 John, right?
1 John, yeah, 1 John, I don't know, 2, 3. It's all over the place, all over John. Mm-hmm. So he's telling us what a circumcised heart is what true circumcision is going to be in the future. That which was the type of, in Exodus 12, in the commandment concerning the Passover. The only people that could eat of the Passover were those who were circumcised. The only people that can eat of the Passover, of the people whose hearts are true, the hearts are truly circumcised. Mm-hmm. But the instruction is the same. A heart circumcised to want to obey Father's instruction. Mm-hmm. So
14, 15, if you love me, obey my command.
If you love me, obey my instruction. So the dilemma then becomes, what happens if we make Passover an evangelical outreach mm-hmm. to peoples whose hearts don't want to obey mm-hmm. or don't obey yet.
In light of it, yeah.
Now I get it. I get the argument. You could say, yeah, but that's the thing that got them. Yeah, but tabernacles could get them. Mm-hmm. And
coming to a Shabbat service,
and coming to a service could get them. And having a special dinner could get them. This is supposed to be reserved for the family. Mm-hmm. This is supposed to be an intimate family gathering.
That reminds me of like an Italian family, right? On a certain Sunday. Nope. Mom, can I bring one? No, just family only. Right?
Yeah, if you live on Long Island, you know what he's talking about. Or if you've ever lived on Long Island, you know what he's talking about. Here's 1 Corinthians chapter 11. Now, excuse me. I don't want to get into all the semantics of this, but I think I spoke about this just recently, and we've spoken about this before. I think the Last Supper that the Master had was on the 13th. I think it's the day before Passover. But it is still... Messiah is the Passover. Mm-hmm. And he's telling them, eat of my body, drink of my blood. Right? He's still inviting them into the covenant that will be literally put into place the next day on the Passover with his death. And so all of a sudden you get to 1 Corinthians chapter 11, and here's verse 23. Let me skip down here a little bit. Do you have this where you are, brother?
Yep.
Yeah, why don't you read verses 23 to 27, and I'll scroll through.
My app for Scriptures version was jumping around, so I had to go over to the NIV in a different app. But it's
That's all right. We forgive you.
Forgive me. All right. Chapter 11, 1 Corinthians, verse 23. For I received from Yah that which I also delivered to you, that the Messiah Yeshua, on the same night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And would you want me to read down to?
Yeah, to 27, and I'll go from there.
Okay. And when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, "Take it, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same manner, he also took the cup after supper, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. This do as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death till he comes."
So it's talking proclaiming the death of the master till he comes, right? This is what Messiah says, and so the master's death didn't occur till the next day, right? So it's still a reference to Passover, even though it may have been done the day before Passover, at least the dinner he's doing, but it's still a reference to the Passover.
And Yeshua tells him he longed to have the supper with him, right? To have Passover.
And I know we read that, we say, well, yeah, see, he said, I long to have this Passover with you. I think what he's saying is, I wish I could have eaten the Passover with you tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. I'm long, hey, it's just the way it, different,
And I know there's all sorts of different ideas, and people got different opinions. But bottom line, Messiah is the Passover.
Yep.
Verse 27.
27. Therefore, whoever eats this bread or drinks this cup of the Lord is in an unworthy manner will be guilty of the body and the blood of the Lord. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of this bread and drink of the cup.
Verse 29.
For he who eats and drinks this unworthy manner eats and drinks judgment to himself, not discerning the Lord's body, the master's body. For this reason, many are weak and sick among you, and many sleep.
And by sleep, he means die.
Yep.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
Yep.
This comes right out of Exodus chapter 12. Don't let anybody who is not circumcised. So when he talks about do not eat or drink in an unworthy manner, how do you eat or drink in an unworthy manner?
Yeah.
You could say you believe, but if your heart isn't circumcised to obey, you are eating and drinking in an unworthy manner.
Yeah, and that word, just to confirm, sleep in the Greek, the Strong's number is 2837, and it says to still, to calm, be quiet, to fall asleep, to die.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. So we asked the question before. So what happens in Exodus 12 if you say, "Hey, I'm going to hang out with these people that got out of Egypt. I really don't believe in their God, but hey, it's a free dinner, and yeah, I want to see what they're doing. It seems kind of interesting. Let me go to one of their Passover seders,
play kumbaya around the fire."
Yeah, and you go. Well, while it doesn't explicitly say that in Exodus 12, I think we can make the extrapolation here. What's going to happen to them? Why does Abba say, "Let no one, no sojourner, no foreigner, there's one Torah for all people. Don't eat of the Passover if you're not circumcised"? This is exactly what Saul's telling us.
Yep. It's almost the same verbiage as saying it'll be required of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Again, I know it's going to rub people the wrong way, but is the Passover supposed to be an evangelism? I'd say no. My honest opinion.
Not according to the scripture we just read. No.
Not according to the text that we sort of built up as we went along. My honest opinion is that it's for family. This is supposed to be an intimate dinner of disciples. And if you think about it, who gets kicked out of the dinner or who has to leave before all of this goes on in the story of Messiah? Judas.
Mm-hmm.
Judas. And what happens to him? Because he sat there and went through, the washing of the, the feet. So he did actually, he was there. He did take part in all of this. And what happened to him?
Yep.
He ate and drank in an unworthy manner. Mm-hmm. He did not examine himself. Mm-hmm. And what happened to him? He slept. Mm-hmm. He slept. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Now, we don't have time. It's already after 8:30. But you guys can look up Romans chapter 2, verse 28, where Saul begins to tell us what exactly circumcision is. And actually, it'd probably be worth just taking a couple of seconds just to take a look at it to show everybody. I get it. I know this is different. People may have a different view on all of this. But listen, either Abba's the same yesterday, today, and forever, or he's not.
His word's established in the heavens.
You can't have it both ways. And I'm not saying that, because in essence, we all eat and drink in an unworthy manner. Mm-hmm. Sure, we did. We didn't know, though.
Yeah,
we didn't understand. And but what was the difference? Our hearts were circumcised to obey. Mm-hmm. And we've been pursuing that avenue of obedience ever since. And we're getting better and better and better. Are we there yet? No. No, come on.
Nope.
Come on, we're not there. Here's, there's so much in here, but let's just read verse 28, because that's sort of the one that's important for us. I keep doing this. I don't know why this is all messed up. He says, verse 28 says, "For he is not a Jew who is so outwardly, neither is circumcision that which is outward in the flesh." So there's the letter of the law in Exodus 12, and then there's the meaning, the spirit of it here in the Master. But a Jew, but a Jew is he who is so inwardly, and circumcision is that of the heart, just like Moses told us would be. Mm-hmm. In spirit, not literally, whose praise is not from men, but from Elohim. Mm. So, interesting discussion.
Yep.
Gives us some stuff to ponder. Mm-hmm. I know we want to invite, friends and other people. We want them to see and to understand. And again, I think that's why we gather weekly, mm-hmm. for that. Invite them then. That's why we do tabernacles. Invite them then.
Yeah.
But
because 365 that you can do any, well.
364.
Yeah, 364. Hey, the calendar. No, but
another issue, another day.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think because then we're going by what the scripture says, our hearts, which again we know.
And I know people can say, well, you don't know what someone's heart is. Yeah, I get that. I get that. I get that. But you know someone who's trying to obey the instruction.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, now we don't have to do Sabbath anymore because that's passed away. Mm-hmm. No, we don't have to do the feast days anymore because that's passed away. Mm-hmm. No, we don't have to obey or do those things anymore because that's passed away. No, there's no more temple anymore because those things are passed away. Well, your heart's not circumcised. Mm-hmm. Your heart's not. I get it. You have an understanding, or you're trying to get an understanding of who Abba is. Lots of people are. Many people are called. Many people are called. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's chosen. And I know. Not everybody's going to like this one. Nope. But I'd rather try to do it right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As we get closer and closer to truth. And listen, let's invite him to other things. Yeah. But when we gather, let's gather intimately. Mm-hmm. Let's gather as people whose hearts are circumcised. We may not be doing everything right, but we want to. Yep. That is our desire. All right, brother. What do you say?
Oh, hey, good news. Just wanted to give a praise report. Our friend Arthur is home. He's out of the hospital.
Amen.
So,
amen to that. Amen to that.
Rejoice with the Redmond family for that one.
Yeah, we rejoice with you guys. We really do. We've been praying hard. We're hoping we're hoping for good things. We love you guys. And also, our Alea, am I saying the name the right way?
That's right. Tubes. Yeah.
The breathing tubes. Our great niece was she was on breathing tubes and all sorts of stuff, and a little touch and go there, turning blue, and
she was born on your birthday, so she was just born 2 days ago. Yeah, 28.
Born on my birthday. Yeah, good birthday gift. And
big birthday month in our family.
Big birthday month for sure. But she's doing well. They got the tubes out of her. She's breathing on her own, and we are very, very grateful. And even her name, I think it's Alea.
Mm-hmm.
I think Alayah.
The same way as Aliyah, right?
Yeah, it's Aliyah.
Yeah.
Even
funny?
Even the name Aliyah in English, it's Aliyah.
I had a friend in school. Her name was Aliyah, and it was so funny. That's why I was like, "How do you pronounce this? Is this how right?"
Yeah.
Wild, yeah.
But we would have never, like years ago, we would have never realized. Oh my goodness, that's to go up to God.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Aliyah means, to go up to God, to go up to the mountain, to go up, to go up to the mountain, to go to where Yah is.
Name, huh?
Yeah, I hope so, man. I hope so.
But yeah, with that, I love you guys. Shabbat shalom, and I'm glad to be back this week. It was a good time, buddy. Good conversation.
Yeah, it was fun. I love you, brother.
Right. Love you too, man. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Peace.
Peace out.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Don't forget to join us tomorrow morning for our service at 10:45 a.m. Of course, got all sorts of stuff coming up. Get the app. Go to the app. Go to the Google Play Store. Go to the App Store. Download the LMC app. Get all the information on our celebration of Passover and the dates that we're doing it on. Of course, the dates for unleavened bread. Be part of the celebration with us. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. In the meantime, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Shalom.